How to find cheap miniatures for your D&D and Pathfinder games in 2021. Today on DungeonCraft. Welcome to DungeonCraft. I'm Professor DungeonMaster, and this channel is about all things D&D and other role-playing games.
And I'm Deathbringer. Level up your game by subscribing and click the bell icon so you'll be informed when we upload new content.
If you are a follower of this channel, you know that I am into minis and I am super cheap. How cheap? I once got my dad a Father's Day present at a garage sale. It was a tie, 50 cents. I'm so cheap, I bought my kids used toys for Christmas off eBay. A couple of years ago, I did an episode on how to get miniatures for cheap, and it's been my most popular so far. Over 250,000 views and counting. Thank you so much. But a lot has changed over the 2.5 years since I shot that video. Now I'm happy to say you can get even better miniatures for even cheaper. So we're going to take a look at some of those new ways today. Even if you're a Mind's Eye DM, stick around. I'm going to see if I can't change your mind. I'm also going to give you painting tips on how to paint these minis really quickly. And at the end, I'm going to tell you if I had to start my mini collection again, this is how I would do it. Sound good? Let's check it out. Printable Heroes and Paperforge make printable minis. They are super convenient, light, and easy to store. You can paint your character minis, but use printables for your monsters and save some bucks. Wylock makes the best tutorials on the subject if you want to print your own. Reaper Bones. I recommended this company in the last video, and back then people had some issues with the quality of the plastic. It was kind of bendy and it sometimes had imperfections. But in recent years, the plastic has taken a huge leap in quality, and I no longer find any imperfections with the models. Moreover, their Dark Heaven Bones Kickstarters have gotten rave reviews. I've never heard anyone complain about the quality, and you get a metric ton of miniatures, especially when you unlock those stretch goals. WizKids, they sell the traditional D&D monsters, plus they sell deep cut sets, so you can buy a whole village at once. Close to 20 miniatures plus scenery equals awesome. Not as detailed as Reaper Bones, but a little cheaper, and I use a huge number of these minis for scenes on this channel. Terrain Crate from Mantic Games. They're famous for their terrain, but now they're getting into the mini market, and I found these goblins, and they look really cool for comparatively little money. I can tell you this stuff from this company is absolutely great, and again, I use a lot of this scenery on DungeonCraft. eBay. I found this set of pre-painted D&D minis going for around $10. I expect them to probably top out around $15. They come pre-painted. They don't look great, but you can't really tell unless you look close. And they're great for kids because they're rubbery, so those bows and swords aren't going to break off. Another eBay option is searching for models that do not meet production standards. I've had a number of patrons recommend this route. Now, I don't want to show you a specific model because I'm afraid that I'm going to recommend a knockoff. You have to be careful about that. I do want to support the original creators, but if you can get models with imperfections, you might be able to get a steal. AliExpress sells a lot of miniatures. Large lots of 25mm fantasy figures. I found this lot of 10 zombies going for around $5 to $10. Patreon, this is one of the newer options, and it's due to the proliferation of online printers. Try to say that 3 times fast. These companies are essentially a subscription service. They hire the artists to create these terrific looking minis, and then the viewer gets to download the file and print the minis themselves. Titan Forge is a popular site. These minis look simply stunning. They're as good as anything I've ever seen come with a game. White Werewolf Tavern, not as many patrons, but also very top-notch. I was really impressed. 3 more sites. Mia K, she has a lot of great stuff. She also has her own YouTube channel, M3DM. Velrock Art has a large selection of minis, and they come highly recommended by some of my patrons. And MZ4250. These sites give you access to their entire catalog of minis for the price of 1 month's membership. In the case of MZ4250, that's over 2,000 miniatures. After hitting Patreon, these minis are then released on My Mini Factory, and Loot Studios also have them as well if you're looking for individual minis. A lot of people have asked me my position on 3D printing. I haven't gotten into it yet for a number of reasons. Cleanup, the maintenance, the smell, you have to store it somewhere. I've also noticed a lot of inconsistency when I order stuff on Etsy with 3D prints. Some of them come with this fingerprint looking surface instead of looking smooth. They're also very brittle. These are the remains of Elena the Pit-Up Fighter. I have ordered nearly a dozen versions of her, and so far only 2 have come intact. Once I dropped one and it shattered into 4 pieces. Even the ones you see here, the torches are glued back on, so I may use them for camera work but not actual play. Maybe the sellers used the wrong resin. I am told that better resin makes a difference, but in my experience, 3D models are really brittle. Here's how I treat my minis. I sweep them off the table into a box and sort them out later. And you can't do this with resin printed minis. So at this point, they're just not for me. I'm sure the technology is going to get better all the time, and you may have tips. If you do, please put them below. Kickstarter. Lots of people love Kickstarter, and as I mentioned before with Reaper Dark Heaven Bones, you get a metric ton of minis when they come through. I'm not going to be recommending anything outside of Reaper or Cool Mini or not, because these have just been known to deliver. I don't want to be blamed if you don't get your miniatures this year or next year. Personally, I've never backed a Kickstarter myself. As enticing as it is to pay $75 to get 100 minis, I'd rather pay $100 to get my 75 minis today. Like, I want to play with my toys now. That's why in the last video I recommended Massive Darkness, which we got for just $45, and it contains over 70 traditional miniatures, loads of orcs, dwarves, giant spiders, adventurer minis. We got ours for $45. I've never seen it that low. Now it's around $89, but it's still just a little more than $1 mini, so that's a great deal. As is Zombicide Black Plague. It comes with 8 heroes and over 60 zombies for under $70. So if zombies are your thing, you can't go wrong. These sculpts are terrific. The D&D board games are also an option. The sculpting is not as good as Zombicide or Simon, but they're good, and you can get them on Amazon for around $45, and you can have any of these games in less than a week. Plus, what are today's games but yesterday's Kickstarters? Which brings me to my number 1 pick. If I were going to start my miniature collection again from scratch, this is how I would do it. I would get the game Hate from Cool Mini or Not. Hate is a skirmish war game. It comes with 100 minis for $100, and they are incredible. Cool Mini or Not, no surprise. These require no assembly. You can use them right out of the box. They feel substantial. They are solid, not hollow. Wow, they are so cool. They have a very road warrior aesthetic with a lot of fur and leather and skulls, and there are a lot of Vikings and mutants and giants, and they're perfect if your game has a gritty, grimdark aesthetic like mine. There are tons of warriors. You could use them as goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, whatever. There are standard size minis and these giant ones. The sculpting, the detail, they feel solid. The swords give a little so they don't break. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for weapons that aren't going to break. I have tons of minis. I have seen them all, but these are just the best looking I've ever seen. And for $1 a piece, that's pretty much what it works out to. This game is a steal. Even if you never play the game, you just steal the minis. Unbelievable. Now, I know some of you are going to say, but Professor, I'm not into minis because I don't want to paint them. Would you believe I painted this miniature in just 5 minutes? I used Thin Reaper Tan Shadow for the skin, Games Workshop Leather Brown Contrast paint for the clothes, picked out the metal and bone, washed with Nuln Oil, done. But here's an even faster way to do it. Prime it black. Spray it from above with Games Workshop's Wraithbone, wash with Nuln Oil. Wash the weapons and shields with sepia. Dip a toothbrush in Game Color's Gory Red and spritz the weapon and shields. Paint the base with GW Corvus Black. Boom, you are done. Is it going to win a Crystal Brush Award at Adepticon? No, but it doesn't need to. It'll give your miniatures a stylish, monochromatic look, and you can paint all 100 miniatures in probably less than 2 hours with just 3 colors. Did I miss anything? Of course I did. Put your suggestions below. Also below, you'll find a link to Macbeth, my blood-soaked collaboration with William Shakespeare and the Quest Givers, available for download exclusively at questgivers.com. Also below are links to Facebook and Patreon is the one thing I don't cheap out on. You get early access to extended videos, the Discord community, my Rules Light RPG Deathbringer, and more. Once again for Dungeon Craft, this is Professor Dungeon Master. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon, and until then, may all your rolls be 20s.
Deathbringer again. He's cheap, all right. He's so cheap, he got his wife's Valentine's Day flowers at the cemetery. And for more cheap fun, click on these videos.